"You're not part of this family anymore," my dad wrote. "Don't come back here." I didn't argue. Didn't try to explain. I simply closed my end of the escrow, filed the withdrawal with the trust officer, and signed the separation from our joint assets. By morning, my sister texted, "What did you do?" I just laughed. A few hours later, my mom's lawyer emailed me, "We need to talk today." Strangely, I didn't feel angry. Not sad either. It was more like a breaker flipped in my chest, quiet, final. The message had come in at 9:47 p.m. the night before. I'd just tucked the kids in and sat down with takeout I hadn't touched yet. The notification lit up my screen. "You're not one of us anymore." 6 words. No explanation. No half-hearted excuse. Just a sentence that landed like a verdict. He sent it, saw it deliver, then went offline. I set the phone down, stood, and walked the house. No destination, no panic. It felt like something had finally clicked into place after years of rattling loose. 2 days earlier, Jessica had called me about tuition. Second year at Columbia, already drained the family fund. She asked if I could cover the next payment. I didn't say no, I just said things were tight. The business was scaling fast, payroll had doubled, and a delayed shipment had nearly wrecked cash flow. I didn't even get into the details. I just said it wasn't a good time. She said, "Okay," and hung up. That was Tuesday. By Thursday, my dad had erased me from the family. Friday morning, I found a letter slipped through the door, plain white paper, no envelope, short as a receipt, "Don't show your face here again." I read it twice, poured myself coffee, and got to work. First step, escrow. Signed off my share, cut my name from the filings, sent the release to the attorney. Then the trust. Dad always bragged about how structured we were, like it was a family motto. I emailed the officer, filed my withdrawal, and requested removal from every shared asset and decision. By mid-afternoon, he wrote back, "Are you certain?" I didn't explain. Just sent the notarized PDF. By dinner, I had legally separated from everything: the Tahoe house, the downtown office, even the shell company I'd quietly let them use to bury mistakes. At 5:08 the next morning, Jessica texted me, "What did you do?" I stared at it in the dark and laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was the first time in years I could breathe without asking permission. At 8:17, my mom's lawyer followed up. "We need to talk." So I went. No warning, just walked into his office. He looked rattled, shuffling papers too quickly, sipping coffee like it was medicine. He asked me to reconsider, maybe pause the separation, said things were moving too fast. I told him it wasn't emotional, it was business. My involvement ended when they made it clear I wasn't a son, just a resource. What they never understood was how much of their foundation ran through me. Dad's landscaping company? My credit line. He couldn't have qualified for a loan on his own after that IRS disaster a decade ago. Jessica's tuition? Extensions secured by my business collateral. Mom's nonprofit? It ran on auto deposits I personally funded each month. The first time I said it was hard, they cut me off. So now, I was cutting them out. I walked out of that office without shaking his hand. He asked me not to make any more decisions until we spoke again. But the decisions were already made. They just hadn't realized yet what that meant. By Monday, the cracks began to show. Jessica called non-stop before 8 a.m., angry, panicked, desperate. "My account's frozen. I can't pay rent. Fix it." I stared at the screen, set it down. There was nothing left to fix. Her Manhattan apartment cost a fortune. I knew because I'd co-signed the lease when she ditched campus housing. The monthly transfer from my account always cleared on the 25th. Not anymore. Every auto payment tied to me was gone. By late morning, the bank called to confirm changes on the company card. Melissa from Wells Fargo asked if I wanted to notify the other cardholders. I told her no. They'd figure it out soon enough. See, Greenspine wasn't Dad's business the way he imagined. He might have been the founder, but the financing, credit, vendor accounts, all anchored by me. When he told me I wasn't family, he forgot the contract still said otherwise. By afternoon, Jessica's tone shifted. Okay, just tell me what I need to do. Please. I need access back. I didn't respond. She'd never once asked how I managed to keep everything afloat. She never asked what it cost me. And the first time I hesitated, they erased me. By 3 o'clock, my mom's lawyer called again, this time rattled. He begged me to sign a temporary reversal to stabilize the trust. I said no. He asked what it would take. I told him he was already too late. At 4:30, another email from my dad, fix this now. No greeting. No explanation. Just a demand. It struck me how backwards it had become. He was the one pleading now, but didn't even know how. He used to call me the quiet one because I never argued. I just worked. He mistook that silence for loyalty. It wasn't loyalty. It was restraint. And that's not the same thing. By nightfall, even the family group chat had gone silent. Not a word. Not even one of Mom's nightly photos of the dinner table. That silence used to eat at me. Like I was always on the outside of something I kept bankrolling just to stay included. But now, the quiet felt deserved. I wasn't cut off anymore, I had walked away. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. By Tuesday, it wasn't just accounts on hold, it was full collapse. Jessica finally called from an unknown number. I answered, more curious than anything. No greeting. Just, you froze Mom's charity account. They called me mid-board meeting. I didn't even know it was under your name. I stayed quiet. She went on, calling me cruel, saying I was punishing people who cared about me. I waited for one honest word from her. Nothing. The truth was, Mom's nonprofit only survived compliance because I let my firm's auditors cover them, pro bono. Their website? Donor pipeline? Even the power bills? Me. Disguised as family support. They thought it was coming from a trust. It wasn't. It was my account, funded every first Monday of the month. Until I stopped. By noon, Mom finally called. Not to ask how I was, not to check in, just to say, I know you're angry, but you're tearing down everything we built. That we landed heavy. She meant I built it. Somewhere, she knew. Just couldn't say it aloud. An hour later, her lawyer emailed again, subject line, urgent request to halt all action. He begged me to pause. Said they were unraveling, that they needed time. I didn't answer. Because when they cast me out, they didn't pause. When they mailed that letter, they didn't hesitate. Now, I was matching their energy with precision. That afternoon, I called the accountant, ordered the property division finalized. Assets under the family holding company were liquidated and my share pulled out. They'd keep Tahoe, lose Denver. They'd keep the warehouse, but the leasing rights? Gone. Dad wouldn't understand until trucks started getting turned away over unpaid invoices. At 6:11 p.m., Marcus, an old friend in fulfillment, called. He said Dad had rung him, frantic, because vendors were refusing orders. Is something going on? He said payments are down. They're not down, I told him. They're gone. That night, the silence returned. But this time, I knew exactly what was happening. 3 separate houses, 3 separate phones, lawyers, accountants, board members all scrambling to patch something they never controlled. The truth was, this didn't happen suddenly. It happened the second they told me I wasn't one of them. Wednesday morning felt strange. I woke to nothing. No lawyer emails, no Jessica texts, not even a demand from Dad. For a moment, I thought maybe they'd finally quit. Maybe the chaos had stunned them quiet. Then my assistant forwarded a security alert from the old shared cloud account. At 3:19 a.m., someone tried resetting the admin password using one of my ancient backup emails. Only 3 people ever had that: me, Dad, and the trust officer. The IP address? Jessica's. They were digging, trying to wipe something. But I'd already migrated to a clean system. I hadn't shut the old server because one folder still mattered. Labeled, Frostline. My insurance file. Contracts, records, memos they'd signed under my name years ago. Things the IRS, or licensing board, wouldn't forgive. They probably thought they could sneak in, erase it. Instead, they triggered the autolock. 5 minutes later, Jessica called, her voice sharp, almost panicked. What is Frostline? I didn't open it, I just saw the name. But I knew her. She saw more than a name. I hung up without saying a word. By noon, the trust officer reached out for the first time since my withdrawal. His message: we should talk. In person. I met him downtown. He looked worn down. Said the family had already called 3 emergency meetings, each more chaotic than the last. Dad was on the brink of liquidating part of his business just to cover payroll. Mom had lost 2 board members after the nonprofit funds froze. Jessica had tried and failed to get a private loan. Then he said something unexpected: she's blaming you for the audit issues, says you hid things in the books. But you didn't, right? No, I told him. I just stopped cleaning up their mess. He slid a small black flash drive across the desk. Your grandfather left this with the trust. Said it was for the one who walks away first. I think that's you. At home, I plugged it into an offline machine. 1 folder. Letters. Personal ones. To Dad. To Mom. To me. My grandfather had seen it all: the control, the entitlement, the draining slow bleed. And the last letter, written to me by name, ended with, if you're reading this, you've already chosen the hard road. Don't let them back in. Not once. Not ever. He'd been gone 6 years, yet understood me better than the rest of them combined. That night, I made the final cut. Transferred ownership of the last shared property, the Carmel vacation house, into a private holding I controlled. Changed the locks. Sent the deed confirmation to their inboxes. At 8:07 p.m., Mom called, for the first time all week. I let it ring. Thursday was still. Too still. No calls, no emails. Just quiet, like they were collectively holding their breath. Until 10:30 a.m., when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I already knew. Mom stood outside, bakery box in her hands. No coat, no purse, just that trained smile she wore when she wanted something without asking. She never knocked. Just stood there for 5 minutes, waiting, almost like she thought the door would open itself. Finally, she set the box down, smoothed her sweater, and walked back to her car. Inside, 2 overpriced blueberry muffins, from the cafe she'd only started liking after I gave her a gift card 2 birthdays ago. Beneath the lid, a note: let's talk. We miss you. I didn't bring it inside. Threw the box straight into the trash. By lunch, Jessica shifted her approach. An email, longer than anything she'd ever written me. She said she'd been stressed, that we all said things we regretted, that nobody thought it would get this far. She brought up childhood stories, trips, games, little memories she said she missed. But what hit me harder wasn't what she said, it was what she carefully skipped over. No reference to that first message from Dad. No apology. Just a soft rewrite, like the whole thing was a misunderstanding where somehow I was also at fault. At 2:50 p.m., my phone buzzed, a security alert from the Carmel Properties smart lock. Someone had tried entering with an outdated code. The last digits? My father's birthday. They were testing the gate, checking if they still had a way in. They didn't. 2 hours later, Dad finally broke his silence. Not with a text. Not with an email. A voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "Daughter," he began, and then stopped. I could hear him moving, like pacing through a room. "We didn't want it to get like this. Your mother and I, we were angry. We thought you'd turned your back on us. But this isn't what we wanted." Then the line went dead before he ever said something real. I didn't erase it. Just saved it. Like evidence. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table, papers spread out, final restructuring documents. My wife sat across from me, feeding our youngest. After a while, she asked softly if I was sure about pushing through the last lockouts. I nodded. It wasn't vengeance. It was clarity. I wasn't breaking anything. I was just exposing what was already broken. At 7:40 p.m., my lawyer called, half laughing in disbelief. They filed a claim on the Carmel house. "Your mom submitted a 5-year-old sticky note where you scribbled they could use it any time." I remembered it, Thanksgiving, half a joke. They were trying to twist it into ownership. "They're grasping," he added. I told him to move forward with the counterclaim. No pauses. No compromises. Full separation. The irony was, they thought this was about a property, or frozen accounts. It wasn't. The damage wasn't mine, it was theirs. Because the longer this dragged on, the more people started noticing. That night, a message came from Lisa, my cousin, the quiet one. "Jessica's unraveling. Your mom's pretending nothing's happening. Your dad hasn't left his office. Everyone's whispering." I wrote her back a single line, "They wanted me gone. They just didn't expect me to take everything with me." And that's what it was. They treated me like a burden, forgetting I was the reason the whole machine ran. Now the machine was falling apart. And they were realizing too late it couldn't be rebuilt. It ended the way these things usually do, late and quiet. On a Sunday at 6:34 p.m., the doorbell rang. I didn't check the camera, I already knew. Dad stood there holding a plastic tub of old photo albums. He didn't look older, just different. Like a man who'd been pushed out of his own story and didn't know how to rewrite it. He didn't use my name. Just nodded at the tub. "Your mother wanted you to have these." I said nothing. He lingered, waiting. The space between us felt uneasy, not dangerous, just misplaced, like he knew he was standing in the wrong line but refused to move. I stepped aside so he could set the tub down. I didn't invite him in. He didn't ask. Before leaving, he added, "We don't expect anything. Just thought maybe you'd want to see them again." Inside the tub, albums thick with sticky pages, peeling plastic. Family trips. Me holding Jessica when she was 3. My mom laughing in oversized sunglasses. It all felt like museum pieces now, props from a play none of us believed in anymore. Over the next few days, the calls slowed. The emails softened. Even Jessica's tone changed. She sent one long message saying she knew I needed space, that things had gotten out of hand. No direct apology, just a hint of regret, like it was a coupon she wasn't sure she wanted to spend. I didn't answer. I wasn't walking halfway across a bridge they'd already burned. Then came the gifts. Mom mailed puzzles, children's books, notes that read "Thinking of you all, missing my grandbabies." No names. No requests to see them. Like she was trying to rebuild something without knowing where the foundation even was. One afternoon Lisa came over with coffee. Sat on the porch with me. She said the family was buzzing. Mom couldn't stop talking about my daughter's birthday like she was still invited. She wasn't. I told Lisa the truth. I didn't care if they pretended to change. I didn't care if they sent gifts or acted gentle. What mattered was that moment I admitted it was hard, and they told me I wasn't one of them anymore. You don't come back from that. That same week, the court closed everything. The trust dissolved. Properties split. Final cuts clean. Their attorney didn't even fight, just signed off. Probably tired of the charade. Carmel was mine. The business is fully divided. Dad sold off part of Greenspine just to pay his workers. Mom's nonprofit shut its office and went remote. Jessica downsized to a studio and posted online about simpler living. Every door they once had to reach me, financial, emotional, legal, was locked. Still, they tried showing up. Dropping toys. Leaving cards. Smiling too much. Once, Mom offered to babysit so my wife and I could go out. I told her no. She smiled, of course, I understand. But she didn't. And the strangest part, people started blaming me. Distant relatives called, asking me to forgive. They're trying, Odlin. Don't punish them forever. Even Lisa looked uneasy when I admitted my kids didn't know their grandparents. But here's what no one understood, they made that choice. They told me I wasn't theirs. I didn't argue. Didn't beg. I just listened and accepted it. Now they wanted me to pretend it never happened. Because they were scared. Because their hands were empty. But I remembered them when their hands were full, and still reaching for more. So now when they knock, I answer. I take the gift. I thank them. I say the kids are busy. I never let them in. They come through the visitor's entrance now. They don't sit at the table. They don't stay long. They leave with the same practiced smiles they once wore when they lied straight to my face. And me, I finally sleep. No late-night transfers. No guilt-laced texts. No debt wrapped up as love. Just quiet. Just peace. And that's worth more than any inheritance they ever thought they could dangle in front of me.